Hi everyone, Mike the MC, bringing another self-care video. Living a free life with responsibility. That is a very unique way of putting life in that perspective, but I think it is wonderful to consider because when you recognize if you're trying to force your life to live a certain way in one direction and all the people are just criticizing the way you live life or how you are doing things, think about how you can take a step back and say, okay, if I cannot fulfill my life in this role, this project, why not do a better project, a bigger one? Now all of a sudden people are like, whoa, this person's really taking their life seriously. Maybe I should respect them, because now all of a sudden they're going for the big goal. They're going for the big project. They're going for the best position. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe we should not have underestimated that person anymore. And recognize, why were your enemies throwing you all these projects to work with? Why were people throwing all these things for you to tackle at work, along your co-workers, along other projects at school, etc.? And you're thinking, wow, people really wanted me to be buried underneath all the paperwork, all the projects. They wanted me to hold the final signature on a paper to where I am the one that gets pointed out as the one who's responsible for everything. So you think, all right, if I'm going to be responsible for a project, wouldn't I rather be at the top of the project, in the sense that, okay, at least I'm not the slave of the project where I'm just the bottom person. At least now at the top I can say, all right, I had some influence, but I also had the respect among people who were wanting me to be in that position with my signature anyway on paper. At least now I can say that I had some title to work with. Now that is scary to think about, but think about it like from this idea, where if you have the responsibility to help more people, I would argue that brings you more respect from the community, because you are no longer seen as the one who's handling the small projects, working on a few things. All of a sudden you want to do some big things in the community. You want to live a healthy life. You want to live a life where it's productive and people are listening to you, and they want to say, wow, what is it that is giving you this charisma to speak on behalf of these other agenda items, these topics that other people are afraid to talk about? What is it that makes you an expert in one thing, and yet all of a sudden, though, you're fearless to talk about it? I think what gives us the ability to be free and fearless to talk about a topic is that we're willing to dive into the topic without that fear of the critic anymore. You're now free because you recognize with your greater responsibility that you can tackle bigger things. You have worked your way up through your life, what you've progressed through all the experiences you've gone through, and you think, all right, nothing is a waste. I can move forward. I can find peace knowing that I have made all these trips across the world in my life. I've made all these different, I've met all these different people. I've met all these different places. I've gone to these events, and this is where the social aspect is important, where it's good to actually have the social network. But then now you got to put that to the ground, to the road, and get your life moving forward, putting all your projects now into work. And so when you start to produce a service that's actually beneficial to people, and everything is starting to turn things around in your area, and then you spread that abroad, okay, people are saying, okay, that person's no longer someone you want to make fun of anymore, because I recognize now that they're very productive, and I recognize now that I should not underestimate them. And then think about it like this: if you're free to do your work now, if you're free to now tackle your projects, now you find the joy in the ones that you have ownership of, and you can help other people now because you can bring people on board to work on different things. So be a good owner, a good boss, good coworker, good judge, leader, right, president, whoever listens, prime minister, yeah, whatever, and just do your good job as best as you can, so that people who work underneath you are inspired to do good things. Make leaders, because they will change the world just like you are, and you are going to make this world a better place. All right, everyone, hope this one finds you well. Take care. Have a good one.